I had to play a game for my life. Part 2. It was late, the kind of late that blanketed the city in a deep, uneasy quiet. I stood before my bathroom mirror, the letter in hand, rereading each rule as if trying to decode a secret message hidden in plain sight. With a deep inhale, I gripped the edges of the mirror and pulled. The mirror gave way with a groan, revealing not just the wall behind, but an opening, a dark, elongated tunnel that seemed to stretch into an impossible nothingness. Curiosity, sharp and demanding, overtook my hesitation. Flashlight in hand, I stepped into the tunnel. The air was cool and damp, the walls rough and encrusted with what looked like centuries of grime. I walked for what felt like miles, the beam of my flashlight a small, brave spot of light against the overwhelming dark. Suddenly, the tunnel ended and I stepped out onto a platform. I blinked in astonishment. Before me lay a subway station, seemingly ripped from the 1940s. It was perfectly preserved, as if it were still in use. Advertisements for Victory bonds adorned the walls, and the scent of old, dry wood mixed with a faint trace of tobacco smoke hung in the air. My footsteps echoed on the stone platform as I moved cautiously forward. The station was eerily quiet, no announcements, no clattering of trains. Then I saw them, people, or rather figures that resembled people, each dressed in period attire, their faces blurred and indistinct, going about their business as if I wasn't there. I remembered the first rule: do not make eye contact. Lowering my gaze, I observed them from the corners of my eyes. They didn't speak or interact with me. They seemed completely unaware of my presence, phantoms of a bygone era caught in a loop of routine. A sudden chill made me shiver, and I pulled my jacket tighter around me. As I ventured deeper into the station, I recalled the second rule: do not speak to them. I bit my tongue as a spectral old man nearly bumped into me, muttering apologies to no one as he shuffled past, newspaper under arm. My attention then shifted as a figure distinct from the rest paced the platform. It was a man in a conductor's uniform, his face harsh and creased with what looked like perpetual anger. The uniform was impeccable, the buttons polished to a shine, and his cap pulled low over his brow. As I watched, the conductor stopped and surveyed the platform with a scowl, his eyes seeming to look right through the spectral passengers. I kept my distance, observing the conductor's routine, noting his paths and stops. The longer I stayed, the more the place felt suffocating, a strange pressure building in my ears. Remembering the final rule, I knew it was time to leave. I couldn't risk getting trapped here. I turned towards the tunnel, then hesitated. On the ground near where I had appeared was a handful of coins, old and tarnished. Do not take what is not dropped, the rule echoed in my mind. These were dropped, so it must be fine, right? I picked them up, rationalizing that it was worth the risk for proof that I wasn't hallucinating. With one last wary glance at the stern-faced conductor, I turned back to the tunnel only to realize it was sealed. I placed my hand on the wall and felt nothing but cold, unyielding stone. I remembered what I had to do and scanned the scene until I saw a track with a train only beginning to take off. It accelerated at an impossible rate, but I was able to make it to the edge of the platform just in time. I picked them up, rationalizing that it was worth the risk for proof that I wasn't hallucinating. With one last wary glance at the stern-faced conductor, I turned back to the tunnel only to realize it was sealed. I placed my hand on the wall and felt nothing but cold, unyielding stone. I remembered what I had to do and scanned the scene until I saw a track with a train only beginning to take off. It accelerated at an impossible rate, but I was able to make it to the edge of the platform just in time. I jumped in front of the phantom machine that made no sound as it raced towards me. Closing my eyes at the last moment, I braced for impact only to find myself tumbling onto the cold, hard tiles of my bathroom floor. Gasping for air, clutching the coins in my fist, I lay there for a moment, the reality of my apartment crashing back around me. I had escaped the station, but the station hadn't quite left me. As I stood, shaky and disoriented, the weight of the coins in my hand was a solid, undeniable confirmation of the night's reality. The first trip through the mirror tunnel left me both exhilarated and terrified. The coins I'd pocketed, a handful of pre-World War II nickels and dimes, were tangible proof of my unbelievable journey. As morning light seeped through the grimy windows of my apartment, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the events of the night replaying in my mind like a looped film reel. Determined to understand the value of my find, I decided to visit a local antique shop known for its collection of coins and historical memorabilia. The small bell above the door jingled as I entered, the musty smell of old books and rust greeting me. The shopkeeper, a stooped old man with thick glasses perched on his nose, looked up from his newspaper as I approached the counter. "Can I help you?" the shopkeeper asked, eyeing my nervous demeanor. "I found these in my grandfather's attic," I lied smoothly, placing the coins on the counter. "Wondered if they might be worth anything." The shopkeeper picked up a coin, his eyes narrowing as he examined it. Pre-war coins, quite a nice find indeed. He tested each coin with a small magnifying glass, then looked up at me, curiosity sparking in his eyes. "Not something you see every day. Where did you say you found them?" "My grandfather's attic. He was a bit of a collector," I repeated, maintaining my facade of casual disinterest. After a few minutes of haggling, I walked out of the shop with a substantial amount of cash, much more than I had anticipated. The weight of the money in my pocket felt like a burning promise of potential, however, before I made